Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of In the Mix Mondays, your favorite virtual happy hour with your two best friends. I'm a financial advisor, Al Moore. I'm here with my good friend, attorney Lee Miller. Lee, say what's up.
What's up, good people? How y'all doing today?
Good, good. And we're joined by another special guest. Glad to have him here, Mr. Leland Mack. Leland, say hello to the In the Mix family.
What's going on in the Mix family? How y'all doing today?
Good, good, man. Glad you could join us. Hope everybody has enjoyed their extended weekend. And just kind of another busy 2 weeks. It's been a long time. We shouldn't have left you guys without some dope info to step to. If you were born after 1994, you probably won't get that reference, but everybody born before then knows of a classic hip hop song with those lines. So, as always, drum roll. I don't have a drum roll machine, but we'll get one. As always, we discuss what's in our mix because you can't really have a virtual happy hour without having something in your mix. One of my favorite things that I know that Lee loves so much. Guess what's back, ladies and gentlemen?
The mason jar.
The mason jar. This is actually. So let me go into this a little bit. This is the first prototype of the In the Mix mugs. A little Tullamore Irish whiskey with a splash of soda. You know, nothing too big. It's kind of light, but something about the mason jar effect enhances the taste at least 27%. And so, like I said last time with you all, man, I ordered a case of mugs, you know, because I wanted to do this prototype, I wanted to do this thing right. And so, very, very soon, you'll be able to have your own In the Mix Monday mugs with like a screen printer with our logo and everything like that. So we're expanding to the family. We're getting into the, not paraphernalia. What is it called? Apparel.
Apparel.
Is drinkware considered apparel?
I'm
gonna defer to my attorney. I don't know if I'm saying
it an accessory? Is it an accessory?
Oh, could fall under accessory
merchandise.
Yeah,
Let's just say merchandise.
Yeah, merch. That's our merch.
Yeah, we're just sliding into it. My partner is a cognac glass fan because he's so, you know, he's so sedity and special. But me, you know, Uncle Al's just your old neighborhood guy, you know, so wow. I prefer a good cocktail out of a mason jar. But it's not just any mason jar. It's an In the Mix Monday mug. And we're going to have some giveaways where you can win one. Once we get them printed up and shipped out, our special guests are going to get one. We're going to send one over to Leland. And just for people who want to, you know, just our In the Mix family want to be a part of us, you can call and get your In the Mix Monday mug once you get them designed up, and then we'll have like the cognac glasses too.
Yeah.
So if you're, you know, if you're sedity like Attorney Miller, you can have a cognac, a highball glass that you drink your drinks on the rocks or at preferred room temperature. But me, Uncle Al, old Southern boy, you know, mason jar, a little club soda and some Irish, and you know, we're good to go. That being said, Brother Lee, what you got this week?
All right, so there's a phrase, I think Capital One, what's in your wallet? And so something I picked up is what's in your liquor cabinet. And so today we'll be sipping on Smott's Jamaican rum. I picked this up when I was traveling. And so
nice bottle.
Yeah, you like that old gold, don't you?
Not at all.
Smott's is one of the finest rums ever produced. Since the earliest days of rum production in the Caribbean, legend has it, Black Jack Smott, the first of the notorious seafaring family to arrive on the shores of Jamaica, quickly became one of the most infamous pirates to sail the Caribbean seas. Feared by the establishment, he ruthlessly pursued merchant traders in search of the most treasured commodity, rum. His legacy was to discover the perfect blend, created using pure Jamaican Blue Mountain mineral water and molasses from the island's famously lush cane fields. Smott's smooth yet rich flavor emanates the rebellious and rogue soul from which this rum was born. As Black Jack himself once said, it's history in the drinking. So that's what's in my mix. My Smott's Jamaican rum. What's in your liquor cabinet?
I believe it. They know a thing or two about making rum in Jamaica. So
yeah,
whenever there's some Jamaican rum, it's probably serious.
Absolutely.
Definitely serious.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's what's in my mix today. So Mr. Leland Mack, what's in your mix?
So keeping it light today, what's in my mix is tequila. A friend of mine, Casamigos Blanco. Very lightweight, white version of the tequila, very smooth. I actually have it mixed with some organic lemonade from Trader Joe's.
Okay, organic lemonade.
Organic lemonade.
You know,
I haven't been to Trader Joe's yet. I gotta go there.
Slight margarita mix, you know, on that. But nice and smooth up with a little bit of zest. So that's what we're going with for today.
Sounds like a very clean experience.
Yeah,
nice
yeah. It looks clean.
It does.
It
like
looks
it's
clean.
citrus twang, like, you know, just a little
Zest.
something. But yeah, it's a sipper. You can sip there for a while and not feel crazy.
Take your time with it. Take your time with it.
Absolutely. Lee, have you been in Trader Joe's here since it opened up?
Never.
I have not been in Trader Joe's. I got to go down there to see what.
Now I will say I went to one in New York. I went to the Trader Joe's in New York, but the one in Little Rock, I'm not. I mean, I'm from the South. I go to Kroger.
Me too.
As of late, I do my grocery shopping at Walmart produce because it's right in the front. I can get in and get out. And Target, you know what I'm saying? And on a super short day when I don't want to be bothered. But yeah, so Trader Joe's and stuff, I haven't really elevated my lifestyle to shop at Trader Joe's and what's the other place called?
Whole Foods.
Whole Foods.
You got to make your way.
You go to Fresh Market in Little Rock because they got that special turkey bacon. But outside of that, nah, man, I shop at Kroger.
Righteous.
Yeah, I'm a Kroger's guy.
Kroger's with an S too, by the way.
Kroger's. I'm a Kroger's guy, plural. I not say Kroger's because I go to multiple. So I'm gonna add.
I see what you did there.
I go to Kroger's. So yeah, and I try to avoid Walmart at all costs. That's just a personal preference. It's a confusing place for me. I feel like I'm under attack personally when I'm there. There's just a level of some unsavoriness to it, but you know, that's all right. Yeah, okay, all right. Yes. Okay, listen, don't let me get on my soapbox. But no, shout out to Walmart. Walmart's cool. They have a nice pharmacy. You drive to it, that's fine. Anywho, so let's get into this financial segment, man. I want to keep it a bit abbreviated in terms of just kind of what went on. You know, a little bit more of the same. The S&P had a decent week last week, and kind of the overall thing, just kind of the market of anytime there's two big things kind of weighing on like the futures thing of the market right now, and that's the election, November coming up. We just had another person throw his hat in the ring, so it's no telling what that may mean. I don't know if we're going for our best rendition of Ringing Brothers, Barnum and Bailey. Another completely different podcast.
That's right.
But,
stick to the money. Stick to the money.
But yeah. So the election and a second wave of COVID are kind of things that are kind of looming over kind of the market. Some things are still performing decently. Some things are expecting correction. A lot of what I've been kind of talking to my clients about, and this time you kind of want to have some part of your portfolio, you want to look at some allocation towards the defense sector, and the defense sector just means that things that are not adversely affect when things are going crazy in the world. So things that are still going to happen, like grocery stores, like kind of regardless of what's going on in the world, like people are still going to need to eat. People are still going to have to pay utilities. Those are things I've kind of been talking to my clients about. There's been some write-ups and some articles about some utility stocks that, aren't going to make you rich necessarily, but, may prove to be a good source of dividend income, possibly. Centerpoint kind of being one of those, stock symbol is CNP. Every, it's another energy company, EFRG. Sempra Energy, SRE. First Energy, FE. It's kind of been some write-ups on some of those energy utility companies that are saying, it may be some dividend play there worth looking into. And like I said, it's always, of course, is dependent upon your specific.
What's the dividend, Al? What's the dividend? What you said, dividend play. What's the dividend?
So a dividend is a payout that companies pay their shareholders in return for being a shareholder. Sometimes it's biannually, a lot of times it's quarterly. So what it is, it's like if I have a company and we're making profits, some companies take those profits and reinvest into the company to try to grow the company or increase the stock price. Some companies say, you know what, we're going to take some of our profits and pass some of those profits to our shareholders. So some people,
okay, I like companies like that. That's good. I like that.
Yeah. So yeah, a dividend is something nice. You want to have a part of your portfolio allocation, kind of have some dividends. So, that they're paying you for being a stockholder. You have enough of them that they pay out a certain percentage of the stock or of the profit. And there'll be a certain date. Let's say if you own the stock by this date, at this date, a couple of days later, we're going to send you dividends. And so, company sending you $1 per share that you own, and you own 100 shares or whatever the case may be, send you a check for extra $100. And if you have, a couple hundred or a couple thousand of those, like those dividend, payments can be nice. And so a lot of people structure their portfolio in a way where, they try to pick dividend companies, or it's, a dividend income is like what I'm living on, not so much what the stock itself is doing. I'm not planning to sell it, but it's paying a dividend every quarter or twice a year. And so I use that, kind of as income. So those are dividends and why they are important, and something that you should be talking to your advisor about. To see
I appreciate that.
Something to make a part of. Yeah, no problem. A big gainer last week was a REIT, REIT, which is a real estate investment trust. But the big gainer was a company called BPYU. They were up 17%, and what they mostly do is they buy commercial retail real estate. And they made a big purchase last week, a big acquisition. And so the market was looking at that favorably. And this was a company that was at $20 a share a year ago. And at one point, it had dropped down to $7, and I think it's now kind of trending back upward towards 10 or 11, somewhere in there. So they're trending back upward, but it's a long way down from where it was. So they see something coming back in the retail space to where they were confident enough to make that large of a purchase. So just something worth looking into whenever a company has a gain over 15%. I always just kind of look to see what it is, what's it doing. In COVID-related news, so in the med industry, there's 3 kind of big players that are going to be moving into new vaccine trials. That's Pfizer, big pharmaceutical company. That symbol is PFE. Moderna, some people call it Moderna, but MODERNA is the name of the company, but the symbol is mRNA. And as well as Johnson & Johnson, 3 pretty big companies, and they're moving into COVID-19 vaccine trials this month. So it's just something to keep an eye on. Whenever you have big companies like that getting into something, you know, if they can develop one soon, that could be a game changer. So just something we're kind of looking into. Interesting tech news. A lot of you might be familiar with the company Oracle. It's like a tech company. And if you aren't too familiar with the company, if you follow sports at all, the Golden State Warriors used to play in Oracle Arena. So it's a big tech company owned by this guy named, founded by this guy named Larry Ellison. And interestingly enough, last week, he sold off 6.5 million shares of his company. He exercised some options rather, and that bought him back about $181 million. And it's not necessarily totally unfathomable when founders or CEOs sell off chunks of their company, but it's something to pay attention to, because just the week before, on June 24th, he also sold off another 2 million shares for $154 million. And surprisingly, Oracle is up 6% this year. So a lot of that could just kind of be like taking profits and putting them back. But it's just something, you know, if you're kind of in that space or kind of looking at like tech companies, it's just something kind of interesting to know, to go and look at and further research out, maybe, you know, what his rationale was behind it. But whenever a big fish like that sells off parts of his own company, it's just going to be newsworthy. It's always going to be on the radar, because they have to report those things to the SEC when they sell such big chunks. So it's public information. It's not like a secret or anything like that. You just have to kind of be looking for it. So that's interesting. Oracle's a big company. And when the founder's trading off, you know, 8 million shares in 2 or 3 weeks, you know, it's just kind of, you know, worth looking at. And just kind of lastly, coming up on that, like I said, we always kind of look into mortgage and the real estate industry just to kind of see what's going on. That's another indicator of kind of how the market, the economy is doing, rather. And there's a good article on the Washington Post about mortgage rates hitting a new low. Like the past 2 months, we've been hitting new lows. I think they said the average 30-year mortgage was at 3.07% for the month of June, and that's the lowest it's been since 1971. So pretty big news, you know. Like I always said, the way mortgage plays into finance, you know, it's not necessarily what you're making, but what you can keep. A lot of people are kind of in this sweet spot between being in their home 8 to 15 years, whatever like that. You know, it may be of note to have a conversation, you know, with your advisor or with your banker about, you know, what a refinance look like. Is now a good time? What's my rate right now? Like, what am I paying? Could I be paying more? Is it best for me to stay where I am? Just having those conversations. But the fact that, you know, rates are down at 3.07%, which they haven't been in you know, 40 years, it's just something to take note to. And like I said, a lot of times with those savings, I've worked with a client personally, and we just went through a lot of planning for her, and through some structuring and refinancing and things like that, she was able to start putting money to the side so she can open up her own business. So I'm a big advocate of I've always been on top of things like that. You know, whenever you have an opportunity to reduce how much you're paying for something, and it makes sense from a term or maturity standpoint too. You know, sometimes you can refinance for a lower rate, but you might extend your years, or you might end up paying more interest. So you want to kind of thoroughly look through the numbers to make sure you're saving money and time, or just time, or whatever is more valuable for you. But I've seen it do great things for people, and you know, I've seen it be able to help somebody save so much money they can open up a business and start bringing in an additional stream of income. And in the vein of entrepreneurship and business, I think this week's episode we're gonna call it "Minding Your Business." Last week, Bettina was moving on up because we talked about mortgages. This week, I think we're gonna do "Mind Your Business." But in that vein, I'm going to pass some time. I want to introduce you guys to our special guest, Mr. Leland Mack. And Claps, hand claps. He's a strategic advisor and consultant for Gavia. He's going to give us some information on people who are thinking about starting small businesses and entrepreneurship, and just kind of give us some jewels and gems around getting into that. So, Mr. Mack, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you. So, starting with entrepreneurship and really tapping into leveling up, I think that's where the current market is going now with people, their ideas, their visions. So the foundation of that is just making sure that you have your business structure properly formatted, that you cross all your T's and dot all your I's, as they used to say. So I'm just gonna go through some quick, like, enhanced DIY checkpoints that every entrepreneur, business owner should look into. The first biggest thing is with people doing a lot of remote work, a lot of digital platforms are now coming about. You must select the state that you want to operate your business in. No matter where you're doing business, you are operating from some state, theoretically, in terms of who you're registered with, who you're filing with. So the first thing you want to do is select your state. You always want to visit your Secretary of State's website or your Division of Corporations website to see what their filing forms are, what instructions they give. Due to COVID, new procedures, a lot of Secretary of State websites now have online filing. So you can file your business online and you receive your registration documents in some states, the next day. Illinois is like 10 days. But the great thing about Illinois, they just reduced their filing fees from $500 to $150. So even in the entrepreneurship market, we're kind of seeing states decrease the fees that they charge people, making it easier and more affordable for entrepreneurs to launch their businesses. Second important piece is to have an operating agreement drafted. This is a document that basically states how you own your company, how you manage your company, how you split your profits, how you report your losses, and any other factors that come up as far as succession planning or transferring title of the business to other people, or even adding new members to their company. Right now, what we're seeing is a exponential growth of entrepreneur companies that are expanding. People are scaling up in business, which means they're hiring new employees. And if you are a small business and you're giving equity away, the operating agreement is essential to how that governs your company. The next important thing that people overlook, but is very crucial to running a business, is a EIN number. That is an employment identification number that is used to identify your business with the IRS for tax purposes. And with that, I'm sure, financial advisor Al could, dive into this, but every business type has a different tax structure. If you would like more information on that, feel free to reach out to any of us, myself, Attorney Lee, or Al, that can give you different viewpoints on taxes, structuring, and how to properly report your business based on the type.
Key phrase,
the second,
properly report your business. Key phrase, properly.
Indeed it is. A lot of people read a lot of sources and these links, and it doesn't give them enough information. There are some either third-party companies too that do incomplete formations of businesses. I believe in personable service. I believe in people hearing and seeing the people that are going to do the services for them. And I think that's always best. But the biggest key now is business licenses and permits. In order to run a certain business, you have to have a certain license or permit issued by your regulating authority, which could be your Division of Corporations or your Secretary of State, depending on the state that you're in. For example, hair salons, barbershops, they have to have certain cosmetology licenses for the entire business, and then they may require that each barber has a particular license. Whether it renews in a certain date, it expires in a certain date. That's very key. A lot of startup entrepreneurs, businesses get shut down in mid-operation because they don't have the proper licenses to conduct business. So you always want to go to your Secretary of State's website, your Division of Corporations, or if you're in the Commonwealth website, to determine what licenses you need. There's normally a nominal fee, and it's an application-based, just small information about your business. You fill it out, submit it, it gets reviewed, it gets approved, bam. You're ready to do business the right way. So operating agreement is what you'll need, your EIN number, which helps you for your tax identification, your articles of organization, or whatever the state calls the filing form. Sometimes it's a certificate of formation for a limited liability company, and your business permits or licenses. Lastly, on the business models, you want to understand your targeted audience. In starting any business, you need to know your market, where you're going to spend your time forwarding that energy, the material, and the content to promote your business. And you need to understand your market's behavior. So your target's behavior, your consumers, where do they spend their time, whether it's online, what platforms do they spend majority of their time on? Because if you can't reach them, then you can't sell the product or the service. So those would be the key things for any entrepreneur launching their business. Of course, branding and intellectual property is a little bit more of a thorough road to walk down. But foundation-wise, you want to understand your consumer. You want to make sure your paperwork is properly filed, and you want to make sure you're filing in the state where you're going to conduct business. And that's the enhanced DIY LLC checklist.
Okay. So do I need insurance?
Depending on the business type, you may need insurance. So let's just say attorneys. Our insurance is different.
Or for a food truck.
Have malpractice. For a food truck, I would say general liability insurance is always good for the following companies. Anything dealing with cosmetics, anything dealing with human consumption, it's always good to have a general liability insurance.
Okay.
Because as you produce your food or produce your products, you don't necessarily know who's allergic to what. Or, as they say in the legal world, the eggshell doctrine, you find them as you keep them. If a person has some conditions and your product or your service exacerbates that, you're now responsible for all of that. So I would say anything that deals with human consumption, applying any goods or materials, contents, especially if it's chemicals, I would say those business types need to have a general liability insurance. And the premium is fairly affordable. Some companies actually price it based on the size of your business, the nature of your business, the amount of volume of sales that you generate. So I think it's doable for every entrepreneur, right? I think it's definitely doable and affordable, especially starting out. And of course, as you scale, an insurance premium probably won't be that much to anyone.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Brother Mack, I had a question. You touched on something earlier, and I had a conversation with someone I know personally about a while back.
Okay.
You talked about intellectual property, and I know a young lady who had built a kind of a pretty good, decent small company, and was approached by someone who wanted to buy her company, and she was kind of under the belief that I guess they were kind of buying some contracts that she already had,
Okay.
and that she could continue to go work and do her thing, with new people. They just wanted, her current book of business. But according to the contract part, and it spoke about intellectual property and how they were acquiring that as a part of it. Can you talk about what intellectual property is, and if it's important to protect it, or kind of what that really means?
Sure. So intellectual property overall is basically a body of creative work that falls into the form of a copyright, which deals with works of authorship. If you write a book, if you write a manuscript, a screenplay, anything that can be reduced to a tangible medium that you're writing is normally a copyright. The other form that intellectual property plays into is what's called the trademark. A trademark can represent a logo or phrase, which basically relates to the services or products that a business offers, right? So when we say intellectual property, that does not represent everything. That's just the umbrella for the different things that people can attach their rights to. The most common one that we see in the world is trademarks. You see logos on shirts, merchandise, like we spoke about, your Intermix mugs at some point are going to be intellectual property to you. So you'll see these different forms of intellectual property, but they get protected different ways depending on what it is. The most common is being the trademark. which is the logo, or a word mark. And that's one that people are not most familiar with. But a word mark is just a set of words that are phrased or designed in a certain way, but it's not a logo, just to reference a service or product that someone is offering. And of course, your logo was your stylistic, customized element creation to represent your business. But those are the two biggest
So kind of like
frameworks inside of intellectual property.
That's kind of like when they stopped LeBron James from doing Taco Tuesday. They wouldn't let him trademark that.
Right. So Taco Tuesday, I think T-Mobile was one of the owners of that, or someone else. But Taco Tuesday is probably their trademark, or actually their service mark, because a service mark is similar to a trademark. It's just when a company offers a service and they create a name and it's affixed to that service. So you'll normally see these small SM near the word, or TM, either one. But that's probably why LeBron couldn't do it at that time, because someone already had probably filed and registered and was approved for that trademark that associates with their goods services. Long road to take, but likelihood of confusion is like the biggest thing in the trademark world. The whole goal of trademark and logos is to prevent people from confusing one brand for another. So basically, people don't live off the goodwill of other brands that they didn't help build or develop. Right. And that could have been in that case as well. Taco Tuesday is really common, is really known, right? And if LeBron, theoretically would have came out with Taco Tuesday himself, now the consumer market may be confused as to, well, which Taco Tuesday am I following? Is it the Taco Bell Taco Tuesday? Is it the T-Mobile Taco Tuesday where I get free tacos from my app at any, Mexican restaurant that they have a partnership with? Or is it this new LeBron's, Taco Tuesday? So trademarks help prevent the confusion from one brand to another.
Cool, man. That's definitely a big gem, and I don't think a lot of people know how important, especially for small business owners, how important or how key that is in terms of intellectual properties and trademark and service marks. A lot of people have these unique things and ideas, and they just start making and putting out there. And it sounds like that can kind of be the lifeblood of your business if you don't protect it right, or
Yeah, definitely can. I've definitely seen cases where people lose everything. They build this mega brand and then it's gone because they sold something and didn't understand what they were selling.
Yeah.
Right. And so you put your blood, sweat, and tears into something, you want to keep it. And even if you want to give it away, that's fine too. There are people who do another form of intellectual property is called licensing. So if you own a mark or a brand and someone else wants to live off the goodwill, you can license them certain rights to use that mark, that service mark, that logo, and you can still use it. It doesn't affect you from using it. You're just giving them a license to use it as well. But you give them certain rules and provisions, that limitations. You may say you can't print it on black shirts, or you can't put it on, you can't put it on purple business cards. People have some funky rules, but that's how the licensing game is. It allows you to use someone else's content without really taking their ownership. They're just giving you the ability to live off the same goodwill and the buzz of the brand, so to speak.
Word. Wow, okay. That's a mouthful, man. I didn't know. Lee, you got some follow-up with that? Or?
No, I was going to say, so would you recommend that I know some of the stuff can get pricey, right? And you did your list, but you didn't list like getting a trademark. So is that like number 4 or 5 on the list, like of importance, or how important to a small business owner on a small budget?
Right.
We trying to make $1 out of 15 cents. So I mean, do I need to?
Yeah. I mean, the reason why I didn't mention it in that initial checklist, because if your foundation with your business isn't right, more than likely you trying to do a trademark poses more of a difficulty, right? So we make sure that our upcoming and emerging, even existing entrepreneurs, you have to, after hearing these insights, can go back and restructure things. If you have that situated, it'll be easier to do trademarks later on, because the foundation of your business is actually set the way it's supposed to be. Do I recommend people doing trademarks straight out? Not necessarily. Here's why, and here's also some alternatives that I've worked with my clients and that I've done. Most people now creating trademarks are for like e-commerce services that are digital, right? Especially current trends of the world, how COVID has caused us to make a lot of adjustments, right? And social distancing and how people are just doing, you know, day-to-day operations. So a lot of people are creating digital products, whether it's print apparel, on demand, whatever you call it, it's online. You couldn't wait to see if your brand becomes, you know, quote unquote, worth trademarking. A lot of people do it. They'll start a business, they'll give it a 6 month to 1 year span and say, I want to see the success in this time period. And if it truly succeeds and reach markets, whether that be, you know, interstate or internationally, then I'll go ahead and I'll trademark it. But a lot of people like to test the waters first. I mean, not that the trademark is expensive, but the process in itself is just, it could be tedious. Some have viewed it as tedious. It can be streamlined, but that's not at the control of the applicant, right? And so people impatience always don't mix. So, you know, people say, hey, I want to trademark it, but I don't even know if it's going to make a lot of money yet. Let me see. The same with business. A lot of people come out with products and don't form businesses, which I don't recommend because they don't have the protections of that business formation. But a lot of people will put a product in the market, see how it performs, and then later develop everything else and do the proper paperwork. So I think you can treat a trademark the same way. The issue is the longer you wait, the more opportunity for someone else to register the same trademark or something similar. First in time, first in right. So in the trademark world, the first to file is normally the person that'll have priority. So, you know, that waiting can become detrimental at some point, depending on how long you're waiting.
Cool.
Okay. Cool. All right.
Okay. Well, thank you for all of that info, man. I mean, I know it's like a process. We probably play this segment back 2 or 3 times just to catch all those things. We'll definitely have some of your information for your services. You provide people want to reach out and maybe set up a consultation or kind of utilize you, or just kind of go back to this video and look at some things and get some information if they're in that stage, whether they are thinking about starting or have already started and kind of missed some steps.
Right.
It's kind of something to go back and be like, okay, this is what I need to work on and look into. So we definitely appreciate that, man. Much needed information for the community. And so with that, we're gonna move into our Law Talk segment with our good brother, Attorney Lee Miller. And also, Lee, if you got an update on the Arkansas Ford, I don't know if you have that kind of read already, but just want to let us know how that's going or if that's a part of it or it's already good. But okay. I know that this is the fans' favorite part of the show. They love to see this brother get into his bag and good wealth of information. And so I'm going to turn over to my good brother, Attorney Lee Miller. What's going on, brother? Appreciate
it. What's going on? Before I get started, Mr. Mack, tell people your contact, you know, LinkedIn, social media, however you want to reach.
Sure. On Facebook, Gavia Group, that's Gavia Group, or you can visit the website at gaviacg.com. That's gaviacg.com. On Instagram as the same name, GaviaCG. That's GAVIACG. And Leland J. Mack Jr. on Facebook. So I'm open to consultations and helping everybody push forward and leveling and scaling up the way they should.
Gotcha, yeah. So, all right, so let's get into it. First off, thanks for those gems, Brother Mack. For those that don't know, I work with Mr. Mack a lot with trademarks and small business consulting. Call him all the time, bounce ideas off of him for not only my personal things, but when I'm working with clients as well, because a client may be onto something that I think is big, and I want to help them get all their paperwork in order on the front end, because sometimes your idea could be bigger than like what you think it could be, and I already know that you're gonna have problems coming back around. So it's good to always seek level minds, people who are educated in the field and that have done it before too. So I just wanted to say that. So thank you for those gems. I hope our listeners can gain a lot from that. Okay, Brother Moore, on Arkansas Forward, I didn't prepare no notes, but I don't know, what day are we on? So 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. How many days is it since it's been the 19th? Let me see real quick.
16?
16
days since the 19th, right?
June 19th. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 days.
Okay.
Somewhere in there, you know, just ballparking. Still Black-owned restaurants only for the next 44 days starting June 19th. What we need to do is we need to circulate the Black dollar or the dollar period in the Black community. Studies show that in the African-American community, the Black dollar only circulates one time. Other communities is 8, other communities is 15. And so we cannot continuously require other demographics of people to lobby for us, pay for things for us, and really care about us. That's not how the real world works. Wars are not won by begging to your oppressors. And so the sooner we come to grasp with that, I think we'll be in a better place. America does not have a history of coddling the weak, nor protecting the weak either. So we have to do what we need to do. And so one of the things from Mr. Wilson, I think off of Facebook, I kind of adapted it for Arkansas, where I wanted everybody in Arkansas and abroad, because actually I got people from college. Shout out to Dillard University, WMU Cooley hitting me up as well. They've been doing it in their cities. Just shopping at Black-owned restaurants. If you have to eat out at a restaurant, just eat at a Black-owned place. If not, just eat at home. And so people have been doing that. And so shout out to y'all for supporting me in that effort. I think it's great. We're actually getting ready to do a town hall at the end of the 44 days so that we can actually look at measurable metrics and see where we are. I'm going to touch on that when I get into proclamations versus laws, because we don't do a good we don't keep a good record of like things actually changing or like follow through. You know what I'm saying? We have in our community, we have issues with follow through. We say something and we don't like follow through and hold people to a level of high as a level of accountability as we should. So it's still going strong, going hard. Shout out to my team, everybody, Arkansas Forward. Follow us on all social media platforms, Arkansas Forward, and our email is officialarkansasforward@gmail.com. So yeah, that's where we at on that. So thank you, Brother Moore. Not as antagonistic or revolutionary today, but you know, it's light. It's light.
Hey, man.
Light, you know.
Hey, I'm just doing a heat check, brother. Just doing a heat check.
Keeping it light.
See where you're at.
We keeping it light. You know what I'm saying? What'd you say, Brother Mack? Strategically planning.
Strategic advising and planning.
Yeah, strategic advising and planning. Yeah. So but yeah. So let's get into the law talk with Lee. First thing I want to get into is like a proclamation versus a law, and so I just want everybody to know that there have been some proclamations made since the George Floyd murder, and I'm focusing specifically on Arkansas because I know that, again, we tend to get caught up in like what's going on globally and what's going on like nationwide, but like you don't focus on what's going on in your own front or backyard. So here in Little Rock, Arkansas, there has been some proclamations, but not one law has passed or changed that would change what happened to George Floyd. So hypothetically, a police officer could put his knee on my neck, I could die, 3 officers standing around him, and the result would be the exact same because no law has actually changed. So I know that we rioted, we protested, we've had meetings, special advisory councils. I get it. I mean, my law firm sponsored lunch. We've done all those things, but not one law has changed. So again, the follow through. So what are we gonna do besides finish this 44 days of Black-owned restaurants so that now we have money that we can go to and ask to try to raise a lobbyist firm or put money into things? No legislation has been changed. Nothing has passed. So the George Floyd result is the exact same in Little Rock, Arkansas, in the state of Arkansas. So I just want people to really keep their finger on the pulse and their foot on people's necks because nothing has really changed. And I would challenge anyone to fact check me. I know there's a trend to fact check people when they speak and talk, and so I welcome all fact checking, because I feel like a lot of times there's so much misinformation is out there, or alternative facts, or history, and not my story, or however you want to put it together. It's not the truth, or it's a version of the truth, or whatever the case may be. To date, on this In the Mix Monday, no law in the state of Arkansas has been changed to change the result of what happened to George Floyd. And I mean, and I would dare you to check your city, your town, your state, and hold people accountable. One of my friends, she kind of rich, and she was like, well, my group, or they're raising money and they're doing a fund and all this. I said, okay, well, where's that? You know, what did they buy? Who did they spend? What did they do? And she didn't have an answer or response to that. So yeah, people raising money, they tearing down statues, but did you change the law? I'm just saying, could a George Floyd situation happen again? And that is a simple yes or no question. I had a great law professor that, you know, he kind of trained us on, what are you chasing? And I'm just chasing, are you gonna change anything? Is something going to be different? And so I'll leave y'all with that. So a proclamation versus a law. Also, I got a couple calls. The governor in Arkansas is saying basically, I think we're in phase 2, I think. But he doesn't have a mask policy. But the mayor has instituted a mask policy. So who do I have to listen to? The governor or the mayor? Well, back to my other conversations about realistically and theoretically. So theoretically, your governor outranks your mayor. But if the mayor passes a proclamation or puts something in place, a business in Little Rock could essentially refuse you service based on what the mayor said. Now, are you going to sit there and argue with them? And is the governor going to come to your aid and defense? I don't know. But that's something to definitely look about. And also, I would employ everybody to revisit the Constitution. Because I feel like whenever pandemics or emergencies occur, we rush into things and we let our constitutional rights be eroded. And so we have to be really, really careful on how much power we give these elected officials and how much we let things slide. Because eventually we'll be in a place where we're on a slippery slope, and your freedom of speech, your freedom to be in a place will be taken away from you, and you let it happen. You stood on the side and let it happen. And so that's my 2 cents on proclamation versus law. The next thing, I see people struggling with this week. Aside from Kroger's with an S in Kroger singular.
Plural. Kroger's plural.
Defund the police. Yeah, that's a grocery store down here in the South, man.
Oh no, we have it here too. I shop at Kroger's too.
Oh yeah, okay. All right. Mm-hmm. So the next thing I seen people struggling with is defund the police, right? So what does that mean exactly? Basically, this is a public entity usually, and they have a budget and a fund that is approved and signed. Defund means stop giving them so much money for things to be materialized. I said that all wrong. We need to basically change the way that police the people. There is a misconception that the police job is to serve and protect, but as our Constitution and as our judicial system will let us know, that's not their job, and they do not have a duty to protect, serve, nor protect you. So be very mindful of that in those situations.
Let me ask a question. I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second. So I have friends and frat brothers who are police. I don't want them to lose their job. With me being the average a layman of sorts, when I hear the term defund the police, that makes me think, I'm speaking hypothetically, of course, makes me think that they're going to stop paying policemen and that, or they're going to fire all the police. And I don't like the sound of that. So I think, what does that term really mean? I mean, of course we need some sort of order. So explain that to us.
Gotcha. So just to put anybody's mind at ease, so historically and philosophically, as long as you will have rich people, there will always be police. As long as there are slaves, there's going to be police. So you don't ever have to worry about the non-existence of police and people losing their jobs. The next thing, defunding the police means they might not get a raise for a certain period of time. For a couple years, they may not get a raise. It also means that rediverting the responsibility. There are statistics that shows that they took last year in Arkansas, in Little Pulaski County, the police took 158,000 calls, 153,000 calls. And so these could be non-emergencies, emergencies, mental health, everything, not necessarily just a crime has been committed, right? People just call the 911, the police have to respond. So instead of them having to respond to 153,000 calls, they can just respond to 50,000 calls. And then there can be a line that will send calls to a social worker, a counselor, somebody else other than the police, because we know sometimes police aren't trained to deal with all these issues, and it's not necessarily a fault of their own. It's just that they're ill-equipped and ill-advised to deal with these situations, and so they don't need all this money to do all the things. So they would keep their pay, but we would spend those monies elsewhere. Just like when you say defund Planned Parenthood, that don't mean there ain't no more Planned Parenthood. There will be less of them, right? Less responsibility, less things that they can do because they're funded by the government, by the people. And so you don't need a tank in Little Rock, Arkansas. You don't need extended clip rifles. You don't need all of these militaristic things to do your job to quote unquote serve and protect, or whatever it is that they're supposed to be doing. And so it would also beg the question that they would be trained more in de-escalation, because they don't have all the things that they once had to do all the things that they once could do, right? Also, I noticed that on their budget, they got a 2.5 pay increase in their salaries. So they're constantly getting raises, and there is no entity that gets incentivized for doing a bad job. Like there's nobody rating or grading the police. So there's something else we got to look at too. So, and it's not all police, but at your job, brother Mack, brother Moore, if the company is doing bad, we're all doing bad. Now you can be a bright shining star at the company, but you your oneself can't carry the whole company. I mean, unless you Drake, right? I mean, you carry Young Money, but that's another topic for another day. But for the most part, it's grading the agency and understanding that maybe they have too much money. They need some help, right? So that's my thing for that on defunding the police. So it doesn't mean stop paying people. Now there might be some downsizing, right? Because it's less money for them to spend, but there will always be police. And again, if there were teachers not teaching our children and they were flunking out of school, not meeting the metrics, they will fire those teachers and get new teachers or restructure the school. I mean, we just had our school board just get taken over for something very similar, but nobody's stepping in to take over the police.
Okay, another question.
Okay.
Because you bring up metrics, and we both love metrics.
Absolutely.
And this is just me asking a question to cure my own ignorance. Is there a metric, or what is the metric to indicate that a law enforcement agency in any capacity is doing a good job? Does it mean like if there's a reduction in crime or certain types of crime? Are there generally, because I mean, I don't want to get too far in the weeds.
No.
Are there metrics to determine if a law enforcement agency is doing a good job? Like, how do we judge?
I'm glad you asked, Brother Moore. We don't know. They do their own projections, their own projects, their own police reports. Well, not police reports, but reports of the police, and they submit them. But usually this is done in a budget meeting. And if anybody else is watching this, I would love for them to fact check or jump in. But as far as I know, there is not a review board or committee that sits down and say, this law enforcement agency has had 15 bad reviews on how they handle situations. And so because of that, we're going to cut your butt, or we're going to reprimand these officers. Or this particular officer has had so many reprimands, he needs to be fired. There's nobody, there's not a third party. Now, I will say shout out to the mayor of Little Rock. He did do some type of like internal investigation of the police, or he put something together. I did see something to that. Now, just because you do an investigation though, and there's no follow through, you just know the information. Because it's not like I'm gonna do this information, I'm firing everybody. That's not the case. You see what I'm saying?
Hold on, man. We're losing your signals. Losing a little bit.
Oh.
Can you still hear us?
Yeah, you can hear me?
we can see you just out of sync a little bit. Your audio and your video is off a little bit.
Oh, I put my phone on the charger, so maybe that messed it up. All right, is that better?
Oh yeah, you back now.
So maybe it's the charger. Okay, so I'll be brief. My phone's on 19%. You know, I'm out here living life on the edge. But essentially, to my knowledge, there is not a review board for the police that looks at their performance, grades them, and then seeks to reprimand that particular entity. Now, I would love for someone to fact check me and point me in the direction, but to my knowledge, maybe internal affairs, but I don't know if that's really even what we're asking. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's not the same thing. That's not what we're after here. So, but I would definitely look into it and love for somebody to fact check me or email me at attorneylmiller@gmail.com if you got any information, because I welcome all information, because the people need to know. But to my knowledge, I'm gonna just say no and let somebody fact check me. I'm gonna take the Donald Trump approach. I'm gonna just say something, y'all come back and just tell me, like, you know.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. All right.
The privilege of being a white male in America, right? Oh, you could probably edit that. I don't know if that might be a bit strong. You take that out if you need. The next thing I want to talk on for my parents. You know, we do criminal law and family law, my law firm. So legal law talk with Lee. Back to school is upon us. We just did Juneteenth, and unfortunately, some of y'all celebrated July 4th, and that's fine. But now it's time to get back to school. So parents, make sure that you're doing what you need to do to get your child ready and able and back to school. That means getting those bedtime set, getting back on your visitation schedules, and also knowing that COVID has changed schools. So school starts August 13th, I think, in Arkansas, somewhere I've seen that, August 13th. So make sure that you have proper Wi-Fi, laptop, or a space where your child can like keep up academically and not get behind the curve. Because what I don't want to do is see kids get left behind for a parents' failure to properly pre-plan for their child. Also, look up the guidelines, health concerns. If your child has a underlying health issue, learning impediment, anything that needs to be visited. I mean, as a kid, I can remember I just didn't like school all the time. So I needed some positive reinforcement. So make sure that you're on that. Also, sports. So again, parents with your guidelines and visitation and that type of thing, make sure you're adjusting the schedules to accommodate for sports and that you're being safe and doing what you need to do for those things. I've had a lot of issues in the family law sector dealing with child support, visitation. Oh, the new law is now in effect for child support as well. So make sure if you need to get your child support looked at, you contact me or another attorney and see if you can get a reduction in your child support or an increase, right? Due to the pandemic, a lot of people got raises. And so as a parent, you may be entitled to more aid to help out with your child. And if you got laid off, you could be entitled to a reduction. One thing about it, though, you can never get that money back. So if you overpaid in child support, even though you were due a reduction, you can't get the money back. So you need to seek someone as soon as possible to get that looked at and remedied. Because with the new law, you look at both parents' income and you could get an offset. And in the cases that I've seen a reduction in child support more so than an increase. So those are things for my parents to just look at as we get ready to go back to school. So that's that. Next thing I want to talk about is DUIs, DWIs, and speeding tickets. You know, COVID is here. It's tight crunch. And so a lot of these hearings are being held on Zoom, on the computer, and you need to get with an attorney to make sure that you don't miss a court date. I had a client who failed to appear for their first appearance on a ticket. They were just going 10 miles over the speed limit. And so he ended up getting a warrant and arrested. And they came and picked him up, and he was arrested. And so now he may have lost his job, all because he missed his court date due to COVID. And so you have to be aware or have somebody around you that is aware of these court dates that can help you keep up with them and do them. So that's where like speeding tickets and that type of thing is on top of it. My DUI, DWIs, these are stressful times we're living in, everybody. And everybody deals with stress in different ways. I want to implore you all to drink responsibly and to not drink and drive. But if you find yourself in a situation where you get a DUI or a speeding ticket, you want to make sure you reach out to a legal professional, because you may not need to get a DUI, or you can't afford to have your insurance premium increase, because spending $1,000 with me to solve an issue, or to help solve an issue for you, versus a year or two paying $300 extra on your insurance, you do the math. Is it better to spend $1,000 now, or whatever 300 times 24 years in insurance premiums? You got to be able to think critically and understand your situation, because if you're 15 miles over the speed limit, if you're drinking and driving, you will get points on your record probably, and your insurance premiums will increase, and that's going to cost you more money over time. And so you want to make sure that you can hire a legal professional that can help you deal with those issues on the front end instead of on the back end trying to play catch up. So that's what I got. So just to recap, we talked about defunding the police. What that really means is not bankrupting the police. It's just finding out ways to not give them as much money as a department and make them work with the budget that they have and spend those monies on other things like mental health professionals, therapists, counseling, other things that people need that are non-emergencies when they do call the police. The next thing is back to school, parenting schedules, reaching out, getting the kids ready for school. If you're not getting your adequate visitation, make sure you see an attorney. Make sure you get the time that you need with your kids. My belief is that every child needs as many people around them that love and care about them as possible. And if anybody is hindering that, then that person needs to be dealt with accordingly. And the last thing with tickets and DUI, DWIs, make sure that you are handling these things on the front end, because a little money now could save you a lot of money later. And also, your insurance premiums. It's so hard to get your insurance back down once it's at a set price. I never forget, after I turned 25 and my insurance went down, or was supposed to go down, but I had got like a speeding ticket maybe like 2 weeks before that time. And so my insurance didn't go down, it stayed the same. So it took me like a year, I guess, to get them to go down on my premium. But I mean, y'all might not know nothing about that, but that was my life. So yeah, so that's where we at. And also proclamations versus laws. Don't be out here being a know-it-all, again, with your interactions with the police. Get home safe, follow the advice of your governor, then the mayor, and then sometimes the mayor, then the governor. But be realistic, don't be careless with your life, because COVID is still out here. It's very dangerous, and I'm just going out on a limb and say they really don't know what they're doing. So, you just got to be real careful. So that's my 20 cents today, brother Al.
All right.
Any questions?
Another enthusiastic and warming law talk with our good brother Lee. But no, there was, I mean, with the mask thing and the different messages from local and state, I just keep a mask when I go out. I just keep a mask with me just in case. Like, so I have one. Like, if I need to wear one, like I just kind of go with the flow. And that's, if I have to really kind of get out a lot.
That's not fair, Al, because you are forward-thinking, prepared, ready for life kind of guy, right? So yeah. You can't expect me, Ma, Granny, them to like, do I wear a mask? Do I not wear a mask? And then you got, are they millennials? What are young people called these days?
Gen Z.
16. Gen Z.
Gen Zers.
Right? So who are they listening to? The mayor or the governor? They're not prepared. They don't got a mask in their back pocket just in case.
Well, with any luck, hopefully Gen Z don't come outside at all. And that would solve a lot of our problems. Right. We can really just cut the knees off of a lot of problems. Because I got nieces who are all Gen Zers, and I love them. Shout out to Generation Z.
Yeah, one time Gen Z.
And all of your things that you guys like. But yeah. So, before we get out of here, ladies and gentlemen, we always have our Monday Minute. And this week, and actually, so here's the thing. When we started this show, like Monday Minute is actually just supposed to be a minute, and neither one of us will be able to keep it up to a minute because we feel so strongly about, what it is that we have to say, because we want you guys to have the most of it. So, and somebody kind of hit me up about that. They was like, I thought the Monday Minute was just supposed to be a minute. It is. But who complains about too much of a good thing? So we're gonna get to that, but just know that all intentions are well, and you know, sometimes you know you can't stop a train when it's on the track. So
Gotcha.
with that being said, this week's Monday Minute will be delivered by none other than our brother, Attorney Lee Miller. Go for it, my brother.
All right. So, again, I seen that as well, and I want to kind of keep it within a minute. So whoever is the time clock Nazi, you don't start the clock just yet. Just still the introduction. So the first thing I want to do is it's a quote. And so my quote, the quote that I want to start off with is, "In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king." And that is something my uncle gave me growing up. And if you take your time and let that marinate, I'm going to say it again. In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. And so that's twofold. That means that if you are dealing, for some reason, if you're dealing with a limitation or a disability, then a person can appear or seem to be a king or have authority and power and dominion over you. But if you flip it around, sometimes something that you look as being a benefit or an attribute could also be your weakness, because if I poke you in your one eye, then you're just like everybody else, or you have more to lose. And so my In the Mix Monday today, I want everybody to focus on having a plan and not listening to all sources. I want you to have a valid source, because just because someone seems or appears to have more knowledge and know-how than you do doesn't mean that they actually do. So do your own due diligence, knowledge, and research. And when you go to someone, have something to say, have an opinion. Because too many times we show up misguided and undecided, and people give us directions to the intersection, and you get led astray. And so, again, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. But in the introverts, or the flip side of that, that's not always the case, and so you can't let it be. So I'm gonna leave y'all with that. The next one I got is it was kind of old to the times. I had to, I dug this one out, and this is from the great philosopher Mike Tyson. And he says,
"Here we go.
Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth." And I think that COVID has showed us that you thought you had a plan, you thought you had things worked out, and you didn't. And I want to employ everybody to reassess what love is, what time is, and what are you really passionate about, because the clock is ticking. And so nothing is guaranteed. And in this day and age, you can't take things for granted, because although right now we're in a time of chaos, George Floyd, we got the pandemic. Actually, this first 6 months of 2020 has been a doozy.
Yeah.
But if you guys will back up for the past, I'm gonna say 4 years, is you could really time capsule this moment in time. And so the old way of doing things have not been the new way of doing things. People are more sensitive and more passionate than they've ever been. I've never lived in a time and place where I can say Black Lives Matter and be met with contention with somebody saying all lives matter. I never knew a time when me being a masculine male could be labeled as toxic masculinity. And again, this is not necessarily like, I understand that everything has its issues, but like, just look at the times, right? Like, even with our food, like, it's so genetically modified, we don't even know what food is anymore. Like, the definition of like what food is or where it comes from. I remember I had discovered that Velveeta cheese wasn't cheese. I was in college. Like, you just really, really, really have to get and I'm pulling it back in, y'all. I'm sorry I got off track. But this is a lot of stuff. This is mind blowing. Like, I never knew that this was a thing. But back to my quote, to reel it all back in. Everybody has a plan until they're punched in the mouth. And I would dare tell you to take this first 6 months of 2020 and assume that you've been punched in the mouth and that you need a plan for the next 6 months. So as far as your savings, we got Brother Al Moore here talking about what you should be doing with your money, making smarter decisions, wiser decisions. Brother Mack is on today talking about being an entrepreneur. And maybe that's not your lane. Maybe you want to do something, but you don't have enough to do it, or you don't know. Think about it, because your way of doing business, your job may become obsolete due to COVID, right? So many businesses have went out of business, bankrupt. You know, they closed down PF Chains.
What?
In Little
Oh, Shackelford.
Yeah, man, they closed.
Yeah,
Anyway,
PF Chains was your bag.
listen, so anyway, so I want everybody to have a plan. And also take your plan seriously. Like, look at it, assess it, and I want you all to be great. And that's my In the Mix Monday Minute.
Absolutely, man. Well, listen, we appreciate the Monday Minute, and you know, just to kind of back on what you said, man. It's we're at an unprecedented time now where we need to think and have thought, and people need to be able to not know and to be unsure and to be able to like ask why without, you know, feeling like, I know you know, like you can't, or I mean, like you said, this is an unprecedented time. There's a lot of things we just don't know, and like to try to figure out. And this is a place where, you know, you come, we have our drinks and our libations, and we kick back and we kind of talk about what's going on. But it's just a place where we just kind of want to feel free for people to just come and, you know, be informed, get informed. And, you know, if we all don't know at a certain topic or a certain thing, to at least be all on one accord about, you know, like, what do we think about this, or what can we be doing about this, or how can I better understand this?
Yeah.
It's just about understanding, man. A lot of this world's ills, I feel like, it come about from just people having a proper understanding. And there's some people that's never going to understand because they don't want to. They have no intent on ever really understanding, and that's not really the crowd that we are looking for. But and it's, you know, it's people who actually want to kind of see what's going on, and you know, it's just a safe space as whenever we can ask questions to try to get knowledge. It just, you know, turns into a bad thing, man. So I mean, but it's definitely about, like you said, being prepared, having a plan, and when you don't, you know, asking questions to figure out what's going on. So yeah, man. And we appreciate that Monday Minute.
And I gotta say something now before we get out of here.
When we get out of here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm
okay. Let's get out of here first.
Okay.
Let's get out of here.
All right.
And then we'll get to it.
All right.
Special thanks to our guest, Mr. Leland Mack. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for giving me the opportunity, man. It's definitely important that we educate our people on how to properly position themselves for success. You know, leveling up, scaling up, as people say, is really important. And, you know, like Tony Lee said on the COVID trends, you're either, you know, a theorist or a realist. And I think you have to be a realist through most of everything. You know, it's fine to accept, you know, theoretical approaches to doing things, but there are some realistic demonstrations how to get success, how to properly prepare yourself, especially with the legal trends, you know, like Lee said. So everything was insightful, man. Thanks again for the opportunity. Just look at the bill.
Yeah, most definitely. We definitely want to have you back at a future date and time. And any questions, we'll have Mr. Mack's information, contact information, you know, on the playback, so you can get in touch with him. Of course, if you have any questions, feel free to hit our email up at inthemixmondays@gmail.com. And be on the lookout for your In the Mix mugs that are coming soon to everybody, and subsequent the cognac glasses and stuff like that. Just to continue to push the In the Mix Monday brand and expand our family. So thank you all once again for joining us. Looking back to getting back with you guys in a couple of weeks. And until next time, be well, be safe, and stay in the mix.
In the mix.